And what I love is almost how eclectic your career and path's been.
Yeah,
Because, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but almost when you then start your business, it's so different. And obviously, you've got different
yeah,
businesses that you're involved in. Almost
yeah.
the ability to think on your feet and blag things and sell things and find your way through is surprisingly important.
Yeah, I think there's like, I mean, it might be a bit of a magpie kind of syndrome thing almost, like I think, well, maybe through my twenties, it maybe was a little bit. I never really had much of a like path. I was just kind of go wherever the wind would take me, sort of thing. Um, and things happened and opportunities arose, and I kind of took one and didn't take another and whatever. But what was really interesting is the whole way through that I was always trying to start businesses. It's
Hmm.
actually the one thing that's actually kind of always run true through everything. When I was at the pub, I was trying to start my own pub. When I was teaching sailing and windsurfing out in Egypt, I was trying to sell the old centre windsurf boards and kit back in the UK on eBay. That didn't work. I think I still owe eBay about 400 quid, actually. I could mention it, but I probably should have said that on my the afternoon. Um,
So, how did you kind of get round to starting the business?
um, it actually, so White Digit was probably the fourth proper bona fide business that I actually tried to start. Um, and I took a bit of sabbatical from caddying for about 6 months or something like that and started working for a friend's web agency
Hmm.
that I didn't realize when I started working there, but it was actually already struggling.
Okay.
And they struggled to pay me and things like that. And I carried on until the January of 2015, where I decided that I was going to kind of go on my own. And I set up my own business in the February, which is now White Digital. And I think I'd worked out that I had 5 months or something of money built up, and I had this like, I've got 5 months to make it work, and I went broke like, after 5 months. And there was a moment, and it was just before my 30th birthday actually, where I had no money in the bank. No one owed me any money. No cash was coming in. I had to borrow some money off my mum to pay for my car insurance, which at 30 years old is
Hmm.
not really where you want to be. Um, so I got a job in a pub pulling pints in Darlington, so I could afford to pay rent and whatnot. And I remember going to the pub and I said, like, I want no responsibility. I just want to come in. I don't want any like weekday shifts. I want evenings and weekends and nothing else. And give me the bar manager's job, which I really didn't want at all. And I did evenings and weekends, and I would basically do 9 to 5. Want to buy a website, and then in the evenings I go and pull pub pints in the pub.
I love what it's that. I think people often miss that. They think the first, how long with it was that like the first 2 years doing the business or?
So I went broke after about 6 months or so. Did the work in the pub, and I was only probably in the pub for like 2 months or something.
Okay.
And then I got offered a job caddying.
Okay.
And I was like, well, I can make good money caddying. I won't be having to
Yeah.
borrow money off my mum to pay rent or anything like that. So I went back to the caddying thing. But then I did the caddying
Yeah.
and White Digital through the early stages for 2.5 years maybe,
Okay.
where I was kind of caddying in the morning and flogging websites in the afternoon. But one of the big things that I've taken is so much serendipity that's
Hmm.
involved. There is, but there's luck everywhere, and you just have to be in the right place to find it. But there is a lot of serendipity involved. And what was really lucky is when I was caddying on the European tour. The European tour is essentially the world tour. It doesn't very often go to America apart from for majors. So you're almost always like east of the UK, so you're ahead in time zone. So you be in Dubai, say, and you'd be caddying from 7 a.m. till 12 o'clock in Dubai. You'd be back at your hotel by 1, which is 10 a.m. in the UK. So you could get a shower, change, sat at your desk in your hotel, and do a full day's work back in the UK while you're over in Dubai, and no one would know them the wiser. So you're actually managing to fit 2 full days into one, and
Wow.
it's no real skin off your nose to do so.
But that's real proper hustle.
But also fortunate that I had that opportunity where I could do that sort of hustle.
Yeah. Yeah, but then you're still working later afterwards. But
But
this is the
yeah,
thing that people often miss is that so 80% of my week is doing stuff for other people.
yeah,
That actually, I'm now getting better at finding that balance. But I think people always think that you start a business doing something, websites, that actually you'll be able to make money quite easily without having to do all the side hustles, the pub, whatever, stuff for other people. And often
yeah.
it does take time to get traction. So how did you almost find the first kind of 2-3 years of getting the business off the ground?
I mean, tough at the start, like really tough, like banging your head against it. I always describe it like trying to get a boulder moving.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's like you've got this massive boulder and you can drop your shoulder into it and shove as hard as you want, but it will not budge. And even when it starts moving, it's so imperceptible, the amount that it's moving, it feels like it's not going anywhere, you know. But if you keep pushing, eventually that boulder gets a little bit of momentum and you can get it going. After a while, the boulder's got so much momentum, you probably don't want to get in the way of it because it's not going to end well. But when it gets there, all you're kind of doing is nudging it from the sides just to try and keep it on the right path. And that's probably the best analogy that I kind of ever came up with for it. But it wasn't easy. Like it was really hard. And I always think back to then, and I remember I wanted to be the size that I am now back then. Mm-hmm. And I look back, I'm like, there's no way on God's green earth I could have made it work. You know, like I didn't have the management skills. I didn't have any leadership skills. I didn't understand business strategy. There's so many things I didn't know. So actually, it's kind of like you only get what you can handle at the time that you can handle it. And even though you might want to be up here, you actually need to be here because you need to learn the lessons to get to that stage. So in a weird sort of way, it needs to take time and it needs to be hard. Otherwise, you won't appreciate it when it finally gets there, and you won't have the skills that you need when you finally get there. You know?
So you've just given me an awesome 2-minute sound clip, which is going to get clipped. We turn this into like a 4 or 5 minute highlight bit. If it's a really bad guest, it'll be like sub 2 minutes, but yours.
Right. What's my goal then, Steve?
I'm not sure.
5 minutes.
As long as it's less than 10 minutes, otherwise LinkedIn doesn't let you post native clips of more than 10 minutes.
Right. Okay.
But nobody's ever got near that. But what you're always looking for is little nuggets of gold that comes out the guest's mouth. That in my head, I'm like, oh, this is good. Keep talking. But
I'll try and find some more for you, Steve. I'll try and find some more.
But you are completely true that I think people always think it's going to be easy, and then it's not. But it's the ability. So I have massive respect for, say, Ash, if she's still watching on YouTube, that actually with, when people say they get lucky or whatever, it's the hustle and the grind that happens and you do, be it a live podcast or whatever, that for instance, you might not even know that anyone's watching, but they are. And so the first time I ever discovered Ashley King, basically I was driving to Aberdeen because I was still working for an oil and gas company at the time. And I put on her podcast and I could just tell this girl had talent. I'd seen her around once or twice, but nothing. But the point is, she didn't know I existed, but I'd started to see stuff. So all of the work and your dropping your shoulder, trying to get that boulder going, there will be people watching, willing you on. And also, I don't know about you, that when you see someone that's earlier on in their business journey compared to say where you are now, I don't know about you, but I want to help them. It's that balance of just, I appreciate how hard it is.
I think it's 100%. You definitely do. You also just a lot of the time, there's not a lot you can physically do because they need to be able to do it themselves. So you're literally just going to be like, you can do it, just keep doing it and you'll kind of get there a lot of the time. But it never feels like it when you're in the middle of the difficult thing. But the bits that you look back at and the people that when you chat to people at dinner party or whatever and you talk through the whole thing, the bits that people like, it's that Rocky story, isn't it? They want to see where you were down and out and the hard bits in the graft. It loses its, I don't know, but it's shine a little bit when it's all easy and you've got money to play with and things like that.
Because one of the things that, let's say on the money side to it is almost, for the first 6 months, 8 months, you're trying to make it work, that you're losing money. But actually, when you get to the point where you've got almost the money becomes the oxygen, if you can generate cash that then you can put back in, and then you can burn that to go more. But it's hard to get to that point. But also, one of the things I realized is that, I know some people that are quite well off, and I know that if I had 30 million quid in the bank, I would still be doing this exact same thing that I'm doing now, and I wouldn't be any happier. But it's almost what I love, because I'm just a really difficult, awkward person. I like the challenge. And I like the fact that even, do you think about the business? I know you have multiple businesses, but almost day in, day out. Is your mind always ticking away?
Love it. I've been saying a few times recently, I feel like I'm addicted to the whole thing now, because I worry that one day I might not have all these different things to try and think about.